You're listening to the Just Go Bike podcast. We're all about the culture of bicycling just for the fun of it. Your host, Kathy Murphy from the Morphology podcast and Andrea Parrott from Parrott Talk are joined by a wide variety of guests each week that delve into the social side of cycling. With tales from RAGBRAI Nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now, here are your hosts, Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
And that's me.
Hey there, AP.
Hey, Murph. It's really weird to be back from RAGBRAI, and I don't get to be doing this, speaking to you face to face right now, or even seeing you every day.
I know. But at least we still get to podcast together, even though it's over the phone. And, truth be told, we still text, call, and exchange funny memes and videos all day long.
Yeah, that is true. And I think I've called you every day since RAGBRAI. So look, I don't have a problem. You have a problem.
Well, and it's, for fun and for business type stuff. So, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
It is definitely, that post RAGBRAI, depression is too strong of a word, but just like, oh man, like real life is not the same as RAGBRAI. The
post RAGBRAI, oh man.
Yes, exactly.
Yep,
so something to think about with Oh Man is lost and found. I only lost one thing, and I feel like it's probably still tucked away somewhere, but I know that you know this, but I wear a heart rate monitor. It fits on my arm. So it like Velcros on my arm, and about halfway through the week, I was in sync with understanding, when to be in a normal range and when I'm stressing out. So, and I didn't want it to have a weird tan line. So I took it off midweek and I still can't find it. And I feel confident when I took it off, I did the old, I'm going to put it right here so that I won't lose it. So I don't know where that right here space is, but and I feel very confident it's not in the RAGBRAI lost and found. But did you lose anything this week or that week?
I did, but I didn't want to tell you. I was hoping you wouldn't ask me.
What did you lose?
Because I came back without my Morphology mug. I can't find it anywhere.
What?
I know. So look, don't hang up. I'm hoping it'll come back in the lost and found, actually from the rental car company, because maybe I left it in the car. I certainly would have just left it on the ground. There's no way.
I don't know how to respond.
Look, I gotta be honest. But so we have everything but your heart rate monitor and my Morphology mug in the lost and found that people lost on the ride that was returned to our lost and found information tent. I'm blushing right now. I don't know if you can tell that, but my face is hot. Like, I'm so embarrassed that I lost that mug. But anyway.
Well, guess what? I know where you can get more of them.
Well, all right. Look, I'm gonna try to move past it. Riders, you do not need to be embarrassed because we have all sorts of stuff in the lost and found.
I will tell you, at the River Dip, in Burlington, I was sitting in the merchandise trailer. I don't remember what I was doing, something on my phone, and there was a frantic man that came up and was like, "Where's the lost and found?" I think it was his wallet, and he was just so panicky about it. He said, they told me to come to Lost and Found. Well, luckily, Lost and Found, the tent was right next to the trailer. And he walked over there, and Sally was able to help him. They found his wallet. They got it back to him. And he was like doing the cheers in the air. It was just like, I don't know when he lost it or how long it had been lost, but that feeling of like, first of all, having it lost, but then also that it was found and there was still money in it. It was perfect. Yeah. So that is like a great example of Iowa nice. But let's hear, how does Lost and Found work at this point?
Well, so like I said, we have all sorts of stuff that people have brought back on the ride, and that'll be a combination of things that were left on the sag wagon or that were brought back in towns, or say maybe sometimes the police will bring lost and found items to us. Just kind of a wide combination of things. And so we have it all. We took a picture of everything that we have within reason. Like, we don't take pictures of just dollar bills. And we have posted it on RAGBRAI.com blog, and it's going to be one of the top 2 or 3 blog posts that we've made recently. So just scroll down to the blog section and you'll see it there. And then you can look through all the different pictures and you can see if there's something that might be yours. You can go ahead and email info@ragbrai.com and make sure you spell RAGBRAI. Number one reason people don't get a hold of us is because they accidentally spell it incorrectly.
Okay.
So info@ragbrai.com, and we'll help you. Kara's been getting back to people within a day to say, yes, we have your item and we'll send it back, or no, we don't have your item. The only catch is that Lost and Found service is only for registered riders. So you do have to be a registered RAGBRAI rider if you want to claim something from the Lost and Found. I do know that we have sent back every single wallet that has been returned to the Lost and Found, and there have been tons of wallets as usual, and as usual, they're just stuffed with cash. Usually we don't get empty wallets back to the Lost and Found. People are pretty honest.
That's awesome.
So we've sent all those back. We only have one cell phone right now, and we're looking to find a charger that will work with it so we can try to get some information from the lock screen to return it.
Yeah.
But so we really only have one phone, which is a huge record for us. We have 4 or 5 to 10 phones in the Lost and Found. So Kara and Sally did a really, really awesome job getting phones and stuff back to people this year.
And when I looked at the photos, I was like overwhelmed with the volume of keys that were in the Lost and Found. Like, how dramatic would that be to get done with RAGBRAI and then not have your car keys or your house keys? Like, ugh.
Yeah. I will say most of them don't look like car keys. They look more like a bike lock key.
Oh, good. Oh, well, so, that could be just as dramatic.
Just as bad. Yeah. So I don't know, but if you're missing your keys, you might as well check our website to see if we have them. Or if you can't see good enough in the picture, Kara will she'd be happy to send you in a zoomed in picture of something.
All right. So info@ragbrai.com.
Yeah. I think probably the funniest thing we got turned into the Lost and Found in Burlington was somebody sent in a orange and a half-eaten candy bar. Like, who returns that? People return anything to our Lost and Found. So we do not still have those. I'm so sorry if that was your snack. But
can you imagine if somebody were to email now somebody will, just to be funny, like, I had a half-eaten candy bar. I really need the other half.
You have to identify what kind of candy bar it was, though.
I'm going to guess Snickers, but I don't know.
Well, I would like Butterfingers, but we'll see.
All right.
I'll ask Kara. The other thing I'll say is that don't despair if we don't have your item. We have one last trip across the state, we call it, with Matt and Ann, where they go and say thank you to the different towns. And at that time, they'll collect any more Lost and Found items, say from the pass-through and meeting towns and the overnight towns, that they might not have got back to us right away. So we'll have one more small round of Lost and Found items coming back in here in the last week of August.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm always intrigued by the volume of things that people turn in and how they get back to their owners.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a really fun episode, but before we get into that, I noticed that the Great Iowa Fall Ride registration has opened. So can you give us the scoop on that?
Yeah, TGIF, the Great Iowa Fall Ride, is back again this September 14th. And it's going to be a really fun bike ride. If you're not familiar, it's just sort of a choose your own adventure bike ride through Des Moines' many beautiful bike trails. Traditionally, it is around Easter Lake and to Cumming, Iowa. But this year, we're kind of letting you decide exactly where you want to ride to fit however much time you want to spend out in the trails and whichever eating and drinking establishments you might want to visit in Des Moines. So that'll be super fun and it's really cool. And you can find info again on ragbrai.com, or we have the Great Iowa Fall Ride TGIF Facebook page that you can visit. But this year it's a little different because in the past we have had sort of an outlet sale, but this year we're going to have it open just a little bit early for people who register.
Ooh,
so if you register for the ride, you can get all the good stuff early, your size on something that you want. Or this year, we're cleaning out our warehouse, so we'll have kind of different items. I'm not exactly sure what we'll have that's warehousey in nature, but for example, one thing we're considering selling is we have a ton of coolers, like orange coolers with a little spigot on them that you could dispense water out of, and some things like that might be a little different. And I'll be posting all sorts of pictures of those on social media. But if you're looking for some supplies for your team, this could be a good opportunity for you to stock up.
For sure.
They're all in good condition. They're all clean and stuff like that. So, yeah. And then, of course, all the amazing merchandise that we have at super discounted prices. And obviously, the benefit of registering and coming early is that we'll have the most amount of sizes available first.
And when would that take place?
That is Saturday mornings from 8 to 10 is the special registered person time. And then at 10 o'clock, we open it to the general public for the warehouse sale. And then the ride is sort of whenever you want from there.
Okay.
We'll also have an open house on Friday, just sort of so everybody has a place to meet and greet if you're coming in a little bit early to do the ride. But that's not as an official thing, and you don't need to register for that Friday meet and greet.
And both of these take place at RAGBRAI headquarters, correct?
Yeah, RAGBRAI HQ. We're located at 501 Scott Avenue in Des Moines. So it's kind of a nice little area sort of south of downtown Des Moines. So come on over while we're open. Don't be creepy. But otherwise, you come right over and say hi, and we'll all be here. You can
That's awesome.
Check out the RAGBRAI office. Yeah.
All right. Well, I know I'll be there. How about you?
Oh, I'll be there.
That's right.
Miss it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so on to today's episode. I put out the ask for riders who wanted to share their RAGBRAI LI experiences on the Just Go Bike podcast, and we got so many great responses.
So many. So we decided to make this a multiple episode series, kind of like we did last year.
I just love how an event like RAGBRAI attracts so many different riders, and everybody does RAGBRAI a different way, even though we're all doing the same event.
Yeah, I mean, we have campers, charter riders, people who, like us, stay in a hotel, RVs, or whatever else you might do, and not to mention the different kinds of bikes that people ride.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So on this first episode in this series, you'll hear exactly that, a little bit of everything. I've got an interview with Gary from Indiana, who used Brancel Charters and absolutely loved it. And then Marty from Virginia, who celebrated turning 65 by riding RAGBRAI for the first time, which is, it's a good story. And then Maura from Omaha, who, get this, she's been blind since birth, and she rides on the back of a tandem with her dad. So, hearing her experience, because, obviously she doesn't have vision, so how she uses all her other senses to explore and thoroughly enjoy RAGBRAI.
Well, sure. I mean, I can only imagine how much there is to hear and smell from the back of a tandem on RAGBRAI.
She didn't mention any negative smells. It was all positive.
Good. So. It was very tactile, right?
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, happy birthday, Marty. Happy belated birthday.
Yeah. I mean, interviewing these riders, it's it's like a highlight to my post RAGBRAI return to real life. You know what I mean? Just hearing people share their memories and their stories and their excitement. I just love it. So.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to hear from him. For me, since I don't get to ride RAGBRAI, it's sort of, I'm there the whole week, but I don't get to bike it. So it's sort of a way for me to live vicariously through their experiences and just kind of get a different perspective on what RAGBRAI is like for other people.
Yep. All right. Well, should we get to it?
Yeah, I can't wait to hear them.
Well, this is going to be so much fun talking to different riders who spent their week in Iowa. So let's kick it off. Give us your name and where you're from.
My name is Gary Hendershot, and I am from a small town in northeast Indiana, the town of Geneva.
Geneva, Indiana. I don't think I've ever been there.
We are about an hour south of Fort Wayne, population of about 1,300 people.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So considering some of the towns we went through, we're a big town.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you felt right at home coming across Iowa and some of the small towns in the South.
Definitely did. It was a lot of fun, except here in Indiana, you can see for miles because there's not a hill to be seen.
Oh, and I bet there were people going into RAGBRAI this year that maybe thought Iowa was flat, but nope, absolutely not.
Correct. From previous experiences, we thought we had ridden hills before, but this one was definitely different.
Yeah. Well, okay, so first question is, do you feel like you trained enough this year?
Not sure. Probably people are going to fall off their chair. I had 250 miles of training in beforehand.
Oh, my.
But here in Indiana, I always tried to pick days where we had strong headwinds and went out and rid into the to the wind to try to put a little strain on the legs. But I did what I did, and I had no issue. So, to each their own, but 200 to 400 miles is normally what I put in before I come and do RAGBRAI.
All right. Well, and it worked, right? I mean, you did it. You completed it.
I am proud to say completed every hill and did not walk any this year and had no cramps. So it was a good year.
Oh, awesome. And tell us like who you rode with, if you were solo, a team, a charter, how that worked.
Well, normally there are 6 of us from here in our small community that come over, but this year it was just 2 of us. So Neil Potter from Bern, a neighboring community, we have a local bike riding club that we do on Saturdays and Sundays and during the week. He was my lone compadre this year.
And tell us about some of the experiences that you had on RAGBRAI LI.
I loved every town. Whether it was, I made a couple notes here, St. Mary's or Attica, populations of below 200
Mm-hmm.
to the big cities we rolled into. We're just a bunch of nobody bicyclists, and they treated us like rock stars when we rolled into town. It just makes you feel good for doing something. So every town was great. The Milo Rita Margaritaville was awesome.
Yeah.
But every town, Indianola, Simpson College knocked it out of the park. Everybody, even St. Mary's, populated. I asked them. They said we have 132 people today, but we never checked the obituaries. So, they treated us amazingly as we rolled in. It's great to see everybody just having fun for a week.
Yeah, and if I think back, as you're riding across Iowa, you're kind of in a sea of bikes, and it's just the way that it is every day. You get up, you ride your bike, you go to bed, you do the same thing. And a place like St. Mary's with less than 200 people, it's hard to imagine what they see, because they see bikes all day long, and then the next day it's back to their normal life again. I just can't imagine what that experience is like from their end.
Yeah, it was always funny, the small little towns you'd roll in kind of on the front end of the riders, and I'm like, oh my. I said, well, there's still another 10,000 people coming. Just the look on their faces is like, oh my, this isn't it. And we're like, oh no, there's more people coming.
Oh, for sure. Did you have any, let's say, favorites, whether it's a town, a community, or we can even get into favorite foods if you have any?
The favorite foods. Always got to hit a pork chop. Mr. Pork Chop does a great job. I'm glad to see them there this year.
Mm-hmm.
The ribeye sandwiches, the sweet corn, stopping along the way, and just watermelon or pickles or whatever anybody has to offer. It's all good for the week. And, just to see the effort, the fire departments, the softball, all the food trucks, everybody puts into it. It is just great to see. And it's hard to explain here back home of, you're rolling into 7 festivals every day for 7 days. And they're
Right.
like, wow. And it's like, yeah, and they do it.
Right. And most of them are volunteers that, put this festival together each day.
Exactly.
Yeah. Were you camping or hoteling or RVing, or how did you do RAGBRAI?
I use a charter, and it's my 4th year with Brancel's.
Oh.
So we did the basic charter system with Brancel, and had 0 issues. We were talking with Bob and Debbie the week of, this was a year that really no hiccups. I mean, everything just kind of went smoothly.
And how does a charter work in your opinion? Is it you go find your charter and they have things, is it like a family atmosphere of a camp? Like, how does it work with Brancel?
It is really weird. With the charter is, you see, I think he's around 500 bicyclists,
Mm.
and you see these individuals, 1 week out of the year. And a lot of them, other than my riding group that comes, I don't know any of these other individuals, but you roll in the first day and familiar faces, and, if you have the knack to remember a name with a face, it's just like you haven't missed a beat for the whole year. And it's a very nice family atmosphere. You take care of your own tent and stuff. They do have a luggage truck that you load into each day. And as you ride into town, you look for the signage, and they have the camp all laid out, and all you have to do is find your luggage and put up your tent. But it's just really cool to roll in and just see people that you haven't seen for a year and just strike up a conversation of, hey, how's things been? Or how's the wife? Or how's the kids? And did I remember this? And it's just not skipping a beat.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts of RAGBRAI is that, just as you described, you'll see people you haven't seen since last July, but you can pick up right where you left off.
Yeah, it's a weird family environment of 500 people in the charter, and then riding the bike. You're a family of 20, 25,000 that, you'll see somebody, where it be, I didn't see Clarence this year, but you'll see individuals, and it's like, hey, how are you doing this year? I remember you from last year. And I had a particular jersey that I wore on college day, and the lady's like, hey, I remember you from last year. And it's just, it's weird how you remember the little things.
Yeah. Okay. So when you have a charter, you have a little bit of luxury in that you don't have thousands of bags to get through, but you do have hundreds of bags. So when you got back home, like, give us your honest opinion. Did you pack too much, not enough, or just right?
Overpacked. I mean, it is so crazy, the month of June and July leading up to packing, and you're like, okay, I'm not packing as much. You put it in, you take it out, you put it in, you take it out, and then you get to RAGBRAI, and your bag is really nice and organized, and by the second day, it's chaos. You cannot find anything. And you always overpack. And I think the main thing you overpack is I call it your nightly clothes.
Yes.
Is you don't really need, you bring 4 or 5 pair of, lounge shorts or shirts, but, Brancel offers laundry service.
Mm.
So in the middle of the week, then you're like, okay, I haven't even worn these, but now I'm back to these. So you always overpack and overthink things, and got to learn to cut that back a little bit.
Yeah, and sometimes you wear that lounge wear for just like an hour or two, and if it's not super hot, I mean, there's no reason to have to launder it, but I felt the same way. I am sure people who have seen photographs of me, I'm always typically wearing a black skirt, and I thought I had packed like 4 or 5 of them, and it was the same concept that you had, where day 2 everything's a big jumble, and I'm like, I can't believe I don't have any black skirts. But when I got home and started, going through laundry, getting things organized, I'm like, wait a minute, they're all in here. I just had to laugh at myself how sometimes you just can't stay organized.
Yeah, one of the things I've learned, and I think there's a newbies group that we helped organize, and we talk about packing everything and Ziploc baggies and numbering them for the day, and that's just been a great help going forward. Okay, where's my jersey for the next day? Instead of dumping your whole bag, you just kind of look for the Ziploc baggie with a number or a day on it, and try to go that way. But then it gets to the point you're like, I know I packed it, but where did I put it?
Okay, so you wake up in your tent in the morning. It was kind of, I wouldn't say the temperatures were really high, but it was pretty humid. So, getting up and getting moving, how was that experience?
Brancel's charter, and I think a lot of the charters do, they offer, every day some sort of breakfast service. And they have water, Gatorade stuff available every morning. So it was basically getting up, Iowa time, I'd call it 5:30. My body was still on Eastern time, so I was awake, and I'm like, oh, it's still like really early out here in Iowa. But get a little bit of something, in the stomach, fill your bottles, and be on the road between 6:30 and 7 Iowa time. And this year with the hills the way it was just plan how many 8 to 10 mile rides do I have today, not thinking about the big number.
Ah, that's a great tip. Any other advice that you have for somebody who maybe hasn't done RAGBRAI and wants to?
I think the biggest thing is know your bike. This year it seemed like, I don't know what the numbers are. There were a lot of people that had newbie or virgin on their calf. But with the hills, they were struggling and trying to figure out how to shift gears. So know your bike, and get a bike fitting. I think my first year I rode without a bike fitting, and I was miserable. Numb legs, numb arms. And then I got a bike fitting, and it's so much easier, and your body is so much more comfortable. So know your bike and get a bike fitting, to be ready for it, and just put into miles whatever you think your body can handle.
Your local bike shop can help you with that bike fitting, whether it's a really extensive, hundreds of dollars, or they just give you a good look over and say your seat's too high, too low, or handlebars need to go up or down, all of that stuff.
And it's amazing how just a little tweak makes a big difference. A tilt of a seat or a tilt of the handlebars, and you're like, okay, that was only a half inch here or there, and it just makes a world of difference.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Gary, thank you so much for coming on to kind of share your experiences of RAGBRAI. And I guess the big question is, are you going to come back next year?
It's in our plans.
Awesome.
We're even talking to more individuals here in our Northeast Indiana area. I sent tons of pictures daily of, bull riding and the Margaritaville going on and the state troopers and the food. And I'm like, you got to at least try it once. So it's definitely on the calendar for next year. And after the heat of the 50 and now the hills, I tell Matt, bring it on. I think we can do anything now.
You better watch it, Gary. We're all depending on Matt to give us a better route next year.
Yeah, I think if he can make it 75 with a westerly wind, he would have 20,000 very happy people.
Okay, we'll see. Hopefully Matt's listening and he can, make some changes for next year.
And speaking of Matt, it was great just seeing him out, whether it was directing traffic or just talking to people. I saw him out more this year for whatever reason than I had in the past, and took a picture and spoke with him about things going on. And he was very open of asking questions. What are you liking? What are you not? And the whole crew, you guys, everybody with RAGBRAI did a great job of being there for everybody this year.
That is so good to hear. And thank you so much, Gary.
Thank you. And we will see you next year. And I told AP, we need to get those Crocs online. Those are good looking Crocs.
Aren't they? Yes, I agree.
Thank you so much.
Well, here's another great interview. Tell the listeners your name and where you're from.
Marty Phillips, and I'm from Chesapeake, Virginia, which is the southeastern part of Virginia.
All right. And you came all the way from Virginia to ride RAGBRAI?
I did. In fact, I drove all the way out there.
Whoa. And then you had to obviously drive all the way back.
I did have to drive all the way back. Yes.
And I was complaining to myself when I had an hour and a half drive after all of those miles.
Yeah, it was about 20 hours for me.
Wow. Okay, so you're back home and hopefully your body is either in recovery mode or completely recovered. Do you know yet?
It definitely still in recovery mode. My quads are still talking to me.
Well, going back to RAGBRAI, who did you ride with? Were you solo or with family or a team?
Yeah, so I was solo in terms of riding, but I had my daughter and son-in-law out as my support team. So I drove out with my bike, with my car, and they flew in and then drove the car from town to town.
Okay. So then were you camping or were you sleeping in the car?
Well, we were actually in hotel rooms.
Whoa.
Yeah, so I'll tell you real quick how that happened. My daughter is not a camper, but she really wanted to participate. So she and my son-in-law booked 60 rooms across the state before the announcement. And they guest ride on 5 of the 7 finishing towns.
Wow, that is a lucky and bold move.
And I tell you, boy, talk about feeling loved. That was really special for me that they did that.
Right. And hopefully the other, what would it be, 52, 55 hotel rooms, they were able to get refunds.
They were. Yeah. They were, fortunately.
Good. As you're riding along, going across Iowa, do you feel like you had trained enough or were you ready for all those hills?
I would say yes and no. I'm generally a pretty good shape person. I do a lot of running, but the hill preparation, and I do a lot of riding, but we don't have those hills here in Virginia.
Oh, sure.
And so what I did to prepare is we have a couple of bridges. So instead of doing hill repeats, I did bridge repeats.
Oh, wow.
And I felt like that got me about as ready as I could get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's hard to replicate the rolling hills of Iowa.
Yes, absolutely.
So you were telling me before we push record something special about Silver City, Iowa. Will you kind of tell us that story again?
Yeah, so before the course was revealed and I had signed up, I didn't realize we were hoping for a southern route because I was born in Council Bluffs. So we were hoping it might start somewhere around there. And lo and behold, it starts in Glenwood, which I actually have some family in.
Oh, cool.
And the very first town, of course, we go through is Silver City.
Mm-hmm.
And the specialness of Silver City for me is it's the town that my mom grew up in. It's the town that my mom and dad met each other. And it's the town that my parents are buried in. So that very first day, I was able to really kick it off very special. In fact, I'll also tell you, the bike shop in Silver City, Happy Trails, is my grandfather's former woodworking shop.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So if that wasn't a sign that I was supposed to ride RAGBRAI this year, I don't know what was.
For sure. And just to be able to, see that community again and then also pay respects to your parents who are there.
It was really special. So I don't know if anybody else caught the cemetery on the top of the hill as you come into town, but it's a very special place. And so that was a moment that I will forever remember.
Oh, for sure. Right. Extremely memorable. Do you have any other memorable experiences that you'd like to share?
Meeting the people that you're riding along with, there were some real special moments. Of course, there I met a gentleman who was riding to benefit cystic fibrosis from Australia, of all places. And my son-in-law has cystic fibrosis, so that was kind of special. One of the things that was really meaningful for me is that I had a goal to get to the halfway town because I had to get a Thelma's ice cream sandwich every day. So I'm proud to say I was 7 for 7 for Thelma's ice cream sandwiches every day. And I've now become a Thelma's fan. So that was really cool. But golly, how do you capture, and you know this from your own experience, just the warmth and the wonderfulness of the Iowa people as you drive into their towns and they're out there cheering you on, asking you where you're from. They're so hospitable. Being a native Iowan, I was just really moved and really proud.
Mm-hmm. Are you able to get back to Iowa in other months besides RAGBRAI?
Yeah, unfortunately, no. I don't tend to go back, and sadly, the only time I'm usually back there is because we're attending some kind of service or something like that for a family member. So and I've certainly never seen the state up close and personal like the way that RAGBRAI really gives you the opportunity to.
And when you think, I've biked in Virginia, but probably not in the same places that you have. But describe Iowa, how different it is from Virginia as far as landscape and just the beauty and corn. What's your take on that?
There's just something that's so American, I think, about it. It's just it's earthy. It's just so vibrant. We've got, of course, the Blue Ridge Mountains out in Virginia, and we've got the ocean, which is beautiful as well. Mm-hmm. But there's just something about that Iowa landscape that just kind of screams, this is America in some ways, kind of at its best.
I agree. And so now you're back in Virginia, working on recovery. Have you found a replacement to your Thelma's ice cream sandwiches?
Well, I have found Thelma's ice cream sandwiches here in Virginia. That was one of my first jobs was to figure out where do they have them locally, and I'm proud to say they do have them locally. So I don't know that I'm going to go. I don't know how many days I'm going to continue to go, but I did find some.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that going to become your new daily habit?
Well, I don't think my waistline will agree with that, but.
What is your opinion of you can pick one or all of them, but the heat, the hills, and the headwinds of RAGBRAI LI?
I was an early riser, so the heat wasn't as much of a factor, but boy, that headwind in those hills. One of my goals, of course, other than to finish, was to not walk a hill. And I never got out of my small sprocket on my bike. But boy, I got up and over those hills. There were some tough hills, and that headwind, boy, I've run a few marathons where I've had to run into a headwind, and boy, it stood you right up sometimes.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to Matt Phippen, our ride director, about this. But, in theory, one of the many reasons that we always go west to east is because of the wind. But, man, I feel like the last several years, it's been more days with headwind than tailwind.
Well, my goal was to find somebody to get behind when I felt headwind. So I'd try to just coast behind them as best I could.
I did the same thing, and I was kind of, tailing somebody for a while just to get out of the wind, and I realized that they had a rearview mirror on their handlebars. So then I had to disclose, hi, I'm back here. I'm just I'm just borrowing your windbreak.
I'm not stalking you or anything.
Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, they heard my voice, and they're like, "Are you Murph?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's me. Yep, it's me." Any favorites that you want to share with the listeners?
Again, just I think the whole experience, and this being my first time, I feel like I'm still processing all that I experienced, still going through my pictures. And one of the things we do when we have experiences like this in our families, we make picture books. So I'll look forward to that. And, just really grateful to be able to participate, and so thankful to RAGBRAI and the RAGBRAI community. I mean, the community was fantastic. I mean, everything from, just the support that was there along the course. Of course, the Air Force, they were phenomenal to see them out there on the course supporting people. And just seeing the community, the riders themselves just supporting each other, encouraging each other. It's, I have a very, very full heart.
And okay, now knowing that it was your very first RAGBRAI, can you back things up and tell us, how did you decide that this was the year that you were going to ride across Iowa?
Yeah, so the first thing was that I just turned 65. I turned 65 this last Monday, which was the Monday after we finished. So I thought, well, you only turn 65 once. You got to do something epic. And I had thought off and on over the years about riding RAGBRAI. I thought, well, this is going to be the year. And then, of course, when as I said earlier, the course was revealed and it started. It was a southern course. It went through Silver State. It's like, oh yeah, I'm definitely meant to do this.
Yeah. Well, happy belated birthday from all of RAGBRAI.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. It sounds like you had a great experience. And if you come back and do RAGBRAI again, I don't know if you'll be able to nail down the hotels again, but you had it pretty good for your first one.
Yes, I feel very fortunate, and there's a part of me that says I'd like to come back and try the camping, and see what that's all about, and experience that as well. So I have a feeling I am definitely going to be back.
That's great to hear. Well, Marty, thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story. And it's pretty cool to hear, RAGBRAI first timers that have so much joy and love for Iowa and the ride.
Well, thanks, and thanks for all that you do with the podcast, and again, thanks for all that RAGBRAI does. It's a great organization, great event.
A very warm welcome to Maura. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Will you tell listeners where you live?
I am about to be living in Omaha.
So you were semi-close when we started RAGBRAI to your new home?
Yeah. I'm staying at my parents' right now in Wayne, so it was a 2-hour drive, but Yeah, soon I'll be in Omaha, and I would have been like a 10-minute commute.
Oh, awesome. I already know the answer to this, but was this your first RAGBRAI?
No, this is my third.
Give us like kind of your story on how this RAGBRAI went.
So, I mean, it was nice because I knew what to expect for like what RAGBRAI would be, and we only did the first couple days.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we joined the Siouxland Cyclist Charter, and that was really nice. They had their own SAG trucks. They, did baggage for you so you didn't have to wait in line. They had their own campsites, and yeah, it was nice. I did it with my dad and my brother-in-law, and we enjoyed the experience of the charter. We enjoyed the towns, going into the downtowns and just biking. So,
and I would assume most registered riders know that with your registration comes, the use of the official baggage trucks and all of that good stuff. But man, if you can afford it, a charter is just that next level up as far as what you mentioned, maybe shorter lines, they still haul your luggage, and then the opportunity to SAG if you need to.
Yeah, it was, I was pretty fortunate that Dad was like, I want to join the charter. So we joined a charter. It's really a nice experience.
That's awesome. Okay, so you have to tell the listeners your unique perspective of doing RAGBRAI.
So RAGBRAI is unique to me in two ways. I am a stoker, which is the back of a tandem.
Mm-hmm.
So if you saw a lot of tandem bikes out there on the ride, the back people are the pedaling people. And sometimes the DJs when the driver can't reach the speaker. So my dad is my pilot, and I am his main support. So another thing about my experience personally is that I am completely blind and have been since birth. So let's see, RAGBRAI, it didn't make RAGBRAI different for me so much that it wasn't anything I wasn't already used to, but it made my interactions were it was really fun to talk to people about being on a tandem and being really the way I ride bikes.
And you mentioned you have been blind since birth?
Uh-huh.
So because when I think of tandems, like the pilot and the stoker, so the person in the back is not controlling where the bike goes, right?
Yeah, I can't shift gears, I can't steer.
So I always think of, and maybe it's just because I want to feel a little bit of control. Like, I think I would be nervous relying so heavily on somebody in front of me to be my everything. They're the ones telling me when to pedal, when not to pedal. They're my eyes because, I can only see their back. But for you, you wouldn't be able to bike without it, right?
Yeah. So I'm very fortunate. My dad and I have been a tandem team for many years, and we got a new bike in 2021, and we had to do some trial and error and some falling, some yelling, and trying to work it so that we could do our first RAGBRAI. We got that bike in 22. I misspoke.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to do our first RAGBRAI that year, and our tandem cruiser wasn't cutting it, so got the new one. And I just think a lot of it is just trust. Like, I know that he's always watching the road,
mm-hmm.
and he knows that I will do turn signals and yell and ring the bells and do all that good stuff when we are passing somebody or alerting someone of something. So I'm usually designated as the communicator because he's the one very busily
mm-hmm.
steering and gearing and doing all those things.
And keeping both of you safe.
Yes.
Yeah. So then what's it like from your perspective as you go through the communities and through the farmlands? Like, what are you experiencing?
So, my dad is a really good describer too. So it's kind of hard to really have a conversation on the tandem because he's facing ahead of you and can't turn around.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what he does say is like, oh, the hill is 50 more yards, or, we have a big down coming up and then a flat, which is really helpful to me because I'm like, okay, I know what to expect. I'm not suddenly working really hard and don't know why. So I'm like, oh God, there's a hill and nobody told me about it. It's really fun to go through the country, to go on the highways, because you just hear music all around you. You smell all the corn and the wind blowing through your hair. It's a very freeing, nice feeling, and everybody feels that. But when you can't get those views, and I'm used to that, when you can't get those views, then you're focusing on other things. And another thing about being a blind person on this ride is that I can't read the mile signs.
Oh, sure.
So I can't see, oh, blah, blah, 10 miles or 20 miles. If I'm told that, that's fine. But I was saying it's kind of an advantage to me because I just kind of let my brain kind of wander instead of being, oh God, I have 5 miles. I have 4 miles. Why is this lasting so long? I still have 3 miles. And I just kind of let my brain just go where it goes. And then I'm out of town.
Yeah.
And then I can stop.
Oh, for sure. Do you have any, I don't know, memorable moments or just experiences that you are like, this is RAGBRAI?
Ooh, let's see. Every year I try to get Chris cakes once.
Yes.
That, throwing pancakes is very RAGBRAI to me. I'm trying to think. We brought lawn chairs to Glenwood for the first time.
Oh. We
forgot lawn chair. We hadn't eaten on lawn chairs, so a very RAGBRAI thing is eating on a curb.
For sure.
In the heat. And then I think another RAGBRAI thing is just commiserating with other people in the food lines or in the Kaibo lines, and just, striking up random friendships. Oh, how's your ride? Oh, what number are you? Oh, this is taking forever. It's really nice to form those bonds, and I hope to keep doing it for sure.
Yeah, just the small talk, because even though, everyone comes from different backgrounds and different amount of time they've spent doing RAGBRAI, we're all kind of in it together at that time. We're all in the line together or eating the same food or all of that good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like, looking back, did you train enough for the hills this year?
I don't know. We walked up a couple. I think I trained a lot on a stationary bike, but I wasn't able to train a lot outside. So I felt stronger and my butt felt better, but the hills were fun.
Right. So when you're on a tandem, I'm assuming, you'll have to tell me this, but I'm assuming that, you have two bodies, so you're both pedaling, which gives you way more strength than just one person. But does that mean that you go slower up hills and faster down hills, or is it the opposite?
That's exactly what it means. So gravity is a real thing on a tandem. No matter how strong you are or how in shape you are, you still have bags, you still have water bottles, you still have gear. And so it's weighing your tandem down, which is already a heavier bike. So then you're going up a hill, you're going up like 5 miles an hour and it's really slow. Then you're going down a hill and you're flying past other people. And we can go about 30 on a good day. And we have to slow up, brake. We have to brake pretty hard sometimes because otherwise you just don't have control and there's too many people. You cause a crash. So.
But I bet it's fun when you get really cruising.
Pretty nice. Oh, yeah. It's like, whoa, the wind's blowing and everything's moving really fast.
Yeah. Do you have any advice for someone who maybe hasn't done RAGBRAI and wants to?
So this is fun because I'm roping my boyfriend into doing this next year.
Oh.
But I would say the biggest thing is just bring your patience. Things take a while. These towns are they're overwhelmed with people. They want to serve you. They want to help you out. But there's so many people and you need to just, be kind to one another and if the line is taking forever, be like, well, if it's this popular, it must be good. And
Yeah.
that's how you have to think, or else you're going to get mad. And just the other thing, everyone says this, but just, ride right. We had some people passing us on the right, and they announced themselves, which was good, but they were passing in the slow lane. So, don't do that.
Yeah, I experienced that quite a bit as well, with people either riding in the center line or just not riding right, as you said.
Yeah, they like speed in the slow lane. Like, stop.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you'll be coming back, and hopefully your boyfriend will be trained and ready for you next year.
Yes, I hope so. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story, and hope to see you and meet you again next year.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for tuning in to the Just Go Bike podcast. Murph and AP will be back next week. In the meantime, check us out on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. And if you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe you have a topic in mind, email them at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. Until next time, just go bike! Theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.